Welcome to episode 4 of my reflections of an almost 80-year-old. We're doing a bit of a pivot. Today we are going to be talking about hair and hairstyles. Isn't it funny how much of our hair tells the story of our lives? From curls to colors to cuts we swore we'd never wear again. Every hairstyle holds a memory. Today, I want to take you on a little journey through the hairstyles I've lived with, from the 50s all the way through to today, and what they taught me about myself. Of course, when I was a child, my mother chose my hairstyle. I remember when finger waves were in fashion and my mother doing my hair that way, and then putting these little straight clips in it to hold the wave in place until it dried. I have a couple of pictures when I was young, and I had very curly hair back then, and it was a very dark brown, almost a black. By the time I was a teen, that would be in the mid to late 50s, I had long hair. Typically, I wore it down over my shoulders. It was actually below my shoulders. And either in a ponytail or later on, I would put it in a French twist. And it was also in my early teens. I think I was in grade 8 at the time. So that would have made me around 13 or so. I noticed my first gray hair. Actually, I don't ever remember my mother having anything but gray hair. And to be honest, I really wasn't too concerned about the hairstyles of adults when I was in my early teens. I remember distinctly that short hair became in style when I was around 15 or 16. And I was also obviously paying more attention to my hair at that time because I was dating and we were going to dances, and it was an important part of how you looked overall. The DA style was in fashion, and I wanted to get my hair cut into this style. Now, mind you, this is from extremely long to pretty short. My mother took me to the hairdressers and I had my hair cut into this DA style. She was mortified when she found out that DA was an acronym for duck's ass. As it happened, I could never get my hair to stay in that upturn at the back of my head, simply because I had this curly hair back then. So the DA style began my journey into short hair. In my late teens, when I was working, that is when I began dyeing my hair. And I can't remember the name of the product. Later on, it was Nice and Easy, but I don't remember the name of the product back then. It was usually black, dark brown, and I also experimented around with streaks. Sometimes I had blonde streaks, and other times it was a silver. I wasn't too fond of the blonde ones, but I did like the silver ones. And my mother, having gray hair, there was a product back in that time where it was a small capsule, and she would put it in a bowl and add a certain amount of water to it. I don't know what it was. And rinse her hair with it. And that would keep the white hair looking white. Now, mind you, there was a lot of older ladies back in the day that did that and left the rinse in too long, and they would have blue hair. It was crazy. Anyway, so I thought, well, I'll give that a try because I have these silver streaks, and who knows, maybe it would help make them more silver, bright. Well, I don't know what my thinking was back then, so I tried it. Well, guess what? All the streaks turned this blue purple color, and I was absolutely mortified. Now, bearing in mind I hadn't hit 20 yet, and that was definitely not the style back then. And I stayed up most of the night washing my hair and washing my hair and washing my hair until I finally looked presentable enough to go to work. But still, at the back of my head, down near the nape of my neck here, there were still small streaks of blue purple. And little did I know, I was ahead of my time back in the day. In the 60s, the bouffant style was in fashion, as was teasing. Of course, I put my hair through that also. Everyone did. It was a style. Everyone wanted to be in style. And we spent a lot of time prepping before we went out, or even before we went to work, for that matter. And sometimes my hair was so stiff from hairspray. I think it was Aquanet back in the day. It probably looked like a wig. I mean, your hair did not move. All our hairstyles were taking on a personality of their own back then. I was using these huge rollers. They were quite round. And at first, there was another unit that you put, after you rolled your hair, there was another unit that you put on top of the large roller to keep it in place. Later on, the Velcro rollers came about. We got rid of the top unit. You just used the Velcro, and I used to put a bobby pin or a clip of some kind in my hair to keep the roller in place. And Lord knows I was sleeping in those things. How I did that, I don't know, because I certainly would not be doing it again today. By the time the 70s came along, I became a mother and was working, so I had even less time to worry about my hair. Hippie hair was in style though, long and straight. Remember Cher, how everyone loved her hair. It was so long and sleek. Everyone admired it. Also, there was the pixie cut, Twiggy. Remember Twiggy? She had really short hair, and she stood out because she was different. And then there was the Farrah Fawcett look. I think I was into auburn hair at this point, and still fairly short. In the 80s, perms were back in style. And of course, I wanted to try it. My hair was probably near my shoulders at this time. Actually, I have a picture. I loved it the day I washed it, and it was drying. However, a couple of days later, it became a lot larger and not quite as curly. I wasn't too fond of it then. But remember Diana Ross and her beautiful hair? I don't think she ever changed her hairstyle. Oh, maybe in the beginning. I think I remember her hair was straighter or not as curly when she first came on the scene. But Diana Ross's hair was just gorgeous and still is. I don't think she's changed her hairstyle. And then again, like I said before, Cher. There was a Sonny and Cher show, and her hair was just beautiful. Not only was it long and sleek, it was shiny. It was just beautiful. So the perm in my hair was fun, but it didn't last long. Along came the 90s. I was using a curling iron every morning before I would go to work, and it was really becoming a chore. Also, I was in my mid-40s by this time, and I was getting tired of dyeing my hair dark because I had a lot of white roots. And it was during this period that I transitioned into a lighter color It started out as sort of a darker blonde, and the transition was not pretty because I had to let my hair get a substantial amount of root before I could have it cut and then start with the new color. So it began as a darker blonde, and the reason I did that was so that the roots would not show as dramatically as when it was dark. But how women dressed and carried themselves in business back then said a lot. White or gray hair was not in vogue like it is today. In the mid-2000s, I had retired and I was just tired of dyeing my hair, to be honest. So I decided to let it grow out. By this time, it was like a white blonde because one of the hairdressers that I went to back in the day, when I started dyeing it a blonde, he told me, don't wash your hair, apply the blonde color, and then wrap your head in plastic, like a plastic shopping bag or this clear, like a saran wrap kind of thing. And it intensified the blonde. So that's what I did. For years I was doing that. And again, my hair was very short and I loved it short. There was just no care to it at all, just like it is today, only it was a different color back then. Wash it, get out of the shower, towel dry it, mush it around a bit, and you're done. I said it was the mid-2000s, but it might have been somewhere in the 2010s where I had let my hair grow gray. I did not have a lot of white. Well, you maybe can't see it too well right now. But both of my sisters inherited the white hair on my mother's side of the family. And both my mother and I have the mix of gray and white. But I was wearing it short and spiky and started to use a purple dye, applying a few streaks just in the front. Initially, I had it done at the hairdresser, and then that became expensive. So I bought the dye myself from Amazon. Joico, I think it was called then. It has a different name now. And I didn't want to put anything too heavy in it. It just, wasn't my style to have totally purple hair. And I still wanted it to look good and still look elegant. I was determined that as I was aging, I was not going to blend into the background, nor be a woman who didn't have anything to say. I always had lots to say. And I suppose, with the purple in my hair, that was my way of accomplishing that. I didn't really give it too much thought when I started doing it. I just liked it. I'd seen it on some other women. That was in Canada. And I really liked it and thought, I'm going to do that too. And the purple streaks have been a real conversation starter. I've been most surprised by the number of young men and women who have complimented my look. I also get stopped in the grocery store and the Walmart, whenever I go to Walmart, by women who's around my own age, or women who have white hair or gray, asking about how I do it. And again, a conversation with another person. And I think it has given, not me particularly, but I think the times now have given more mature women the okay to do whatever they want with their hair. Look back. My hairstyles were never just about fashion. They reflected where I was in life, trying to fit in, daring to stand out, or learning to embrace myself just as I am. And I think that happens just as you mature. You are what you are, and you know, we just should be so grateful to be getting older. Hair might seem just like hair, but it really is a reflection of who we are at each stage in life. Now tell me about you. What are your stories? What are your hair stories? Your disaster hair stories, the styles that you love the most. Why did you choose those styles? Were you just keeping up with the times? Or maybe you've kept the same hairstyle for years. Whatever you choose to do is just fine. Please share your stories in the comments.